Good morning, guys, and welcome from Scottsville today. It is raining, it is cold and wet in Cape Town, but in Scottsville it's a sunny 25 degrees with a 5 kilometer northwest. Penetrometer reading 22, good with a false rail of 9 meters. But before we get into it, let's have a quick look at yesterday. Just a recap, maybe a minute or two. I'll try and keep these videos a bit shorter going forward. So yesterday, if you did watch our video, you had a great day. If you didn't, sorry for you, but Invincible was the first time a year in the first, in the second, Anecdote at 10 to 1 advised, and the top three in the trifecta there. In the third, What a Flirt, the top rated, again a winner. In the fourth, Nexus. In the fifth, top rated, Eric the Red. In the sixth, second rated, Captain's Ransom. In the seventh, False Dancer, top rated, ran a second. In the eighth, second rated, Katak, or editor's top rated pick with best ORA and ERA, ran first. And in the last, we closed off the day with a wonderful 10 to 1 or even 12 to 1. World's your oyster. So well worth to have logged in, and hope we'll continue to do so going forward. But let's have a look at Vol today. Sorry, not Vol today. We're looking at Scottsville today. Vol's already ready for tomorrow, and so is Fairview Poly and Scottsville for the 13th. Yet again, if you need to know exactly what everything means, there's a ratings explained page that explains to you every single thing, everything you need to know. Please do read through it. We start off in the first with a top rated from the Wendy Whitehead stable that's currently at 15 to 1. Stewart Randolph is the jockey for Wendy Whitehead. Whitehead's only got 3 for the day, and it does have quite a good greenie points of 13 with a 42.86% chance to win, considering it's a 15 to 1 at the moment. Really well worth it. It also has the Bomb 84, Bomb 168, Bomb C, Bat 84, Bat 168, Bat C, all belonging to it, with also 42% chances there to win. And its main opposition will be Trickster, but on the bat form, we can see that Reckless Love has superior bat by around 9 lengths on Trickster here. There is a lot of first timers in this race as well, so potentially Reckless Love is maybe just a nibble for the win. But on the top 4 market, on 7 previous P stats, we do see an 85% chance of it to place, and it's currently at 140% return for a top 4. 85% on T-curve, 85 on the bomb rolls, 85 on the bat 84. So worth a shot there. At the bottom here, we've also got missed player, Gavin Van Sale, Warren Kennedy. I'm sure this will be improving. And if you look at the bat 168 form, it's already lying in third, red bat. And the reason for being red bat is it's outside the distance category on that 845 bat figure there that was normalized to a 936 against the field. So Mrs. Player at 8 to 1 is potentially also another one to have a look at for any support. Other than that, it does look like this Emerald Palace does seem quite decent for so any support on Emerald Palace you need to consider as well. It has popped up quite strong on the statistical form and the intent here. The other one to consider is, for me, is potentially Destiny. Brett Crawford, Craig Zaki is probably my next best choice. Anything else of the race runners? I don't particularly see any of the race runners to win this. Chow Ching Chow, yeah, not for me. 11.6 on the bat figures. Jockey first ride on it, yeah, not great stats. So those would be my 5 choices. There's a mention here of Celtic Vision. Now, Celtic Vision has only a 10.98 on the bat figure, but the reason why I also included here is it is Dennis Dreyer. It is his second run only, and he's got the best adjusted time, a little bit better than Reckless Love. So he'll probably be my next best. Okay, I'm going to try and get it through it a bit quicker today so that it loads in time because the start is at 11. In the next rates, it could therefore mean that Justin Snaith could be looking for the double here. As we see here, Justin Snaith has got Trickster in this race here. He's only got 3 for the day, and he does follow it up with Keep the Lights On. Now, to me, Keep the Lights On is a better prospect purely because it's got the best bat C here and the best bomb roll C curve and bomb roll 168, as well as the best statistical form intent and T curve. But looking at the 7 P-Stats races to date, the top statistical and the top intent has not won once, which is a bit concerning. Top T curve has won 43% and top super roll percentage has won 57%. But concerning that there's not been any stat or intent top rated winning out of those 7 options, which leads me to believe that it can be beaten. And considering that we do have quite a strong runner here, bat 84 on 0 and bat 168 on 0, that's not it's only 1.38 ahead of Keep the Lights On. But in saying that, it is at 18 to 1, which is a lovely price. Its best greedy points 42% to win, exotic ranking 42% to win. So it's got quite a bit going for it as well. Best overall ranking 42% to win. The bottom here, if I look further, I do like this little outsider here, considering that this bat figure is only 1.08 behind Keep the Lights On, and the difference being, of course, this one is at 36 to 1. Shades of Red currently trading at 45 to 1. Only runner for Julie Guthrie, and based on its 2 runs to date, its last run on the Scottsville Barrier Trial has got some quite decent. And if I compare those figures, if I look at the 1,000 meter Scottsville Barrier Trial of 58.84 is pretty decent, I have to admit. It was achieved on a 56.5 kilos though, which means the 3.5 kilos will probably count a bit against it today. But if I'm considering the rest of the field here, the 58.84 here was a great run, considering the best for Keep the Lights On over 1,000 being at Kenilworth is a 59.31, although carrying 60 Ks. Big Sky Country does have a 60.6 on adjusted time. The problem here was, for me, it was only carrying 52.5 kilos, and that should be concerning. So Keep the Lights On is definitely a decent, worthwhile favorite. If I look at the place stats here for Big Sky Country, I do see I've got 7 out of 7 on exotic ranking, 100% return. Now it comes at a lovely price, so maybe worthwhile a nibble as a top 4. Also supported by 85% here, 85% on bat 84 to run a top 4, for the top rated to run a top 4. So if I look at those figures here on the bat, Big Sky Country, it does have the only bat in the field on bat 84, so nothing else has run the last 84 months, which does make it a little bit difficult because we have been in lockdown. So that probably hampers his chances, but I'd still be nibbling on him, maybe 1 point or perhaps 2 points on the top 4. Others to consider, there's a lot of first-timers. Doug Campbell's only got 1 for the day. He's put Stuart Randolph on board here, so he'll probably be one of my first choice first-timers to be competing in this race. His T curve is on 23 points, which is 3rd best in the field. There's nothing else in the market that's getting any support, so Keep the Lights On is probably a worthwhile first choice, and Big Sky Country for a top 4 for me perhaps. My Lady at the bottom here, the medium speed and the exact distance medium speed, could potentially also be running into quartets. Let's get over to the 3rd race. Trying to keep it less than half an hour today, so I'm going through these races a bit quicker. And here we have Janssen van Vuuren's been in very good form. If you look at Janssen van Vuuren here, his run since his last win has only been 2 runs, and he's had quite a few winners recently. There's been 12 P-stats in this race here, and you have a 25% on exact distance here, a 50% on super rule that's shared between all those super rules circled, which is all the best ones here, but it also has a 33% on top T curve and a 41.67% on bat C. If I look at the bat C figure, it does have a 4.65 lengths advantage on bat C since Wunderbar is now scratched. So that to me makes San Andreas the top rated for me here. There is a couple of first timers here: Iron Tail at 18-1, Sweet Scented Green at 8, Good Time Guy at 9, Mezuzah at 14, and Spring High from Dennis Dreyer at 3.5. So these ones are all support in the market must be considered, but for me, from the raced runners, San Andreas is currently at 11-1, and I do quite like his chances. We do have a first timer here in the form of Mezuzah on the second T curve. Mezuzah currently at 22-1, and if we consider that Hill and Magudalwa also has a runner here that's quite high up on the first, that's also a first timer, it might be worthwhile to see how the first one fares, and once we've seen how this Emerald Palace fares here, we could probably look at this one closer after we know the result of race 1, whether he's coming to the course prepared. Nothing else really in the third race that stands out here for me, so just to cap, San Andreas is my first choice. Hardwired at 14-1 has a lot of things going for it, and what I mean by that is it's got overall ranking, greeny points, exotic ranking, adjusted time, speed rating, form, super rule percentage, bomb 4284, and the first 3 bats, bat 4284 and bat 168. The little bit of a concern here for me is that he's only got that from his last run, and that was a gravel poly run. His grass runs at the 1000 Scottsville was not as good, considering his figures here of a 16, a 6 is pretty decent, but the 16 threw that out. He did get a lot of support on that 16 though, so he was backed in from 10 into 3.45. So comparing the top rated San Andreas with the second rated Hardwired here, you can see that San Andreas only had the 1 run at 4.71 bat, which to me is pretty decent going here. Also considering that Hardwired here carried 57 kilos and is now carrying 60. San Andreas was running that race on steels, and today he's running Alamite, so you could probably add another second on that 1000-meter form based on Alamites being much lighter than the steels. San Andreas is not a bad choice here. He had Calvin Habib on last time. Now he's got Keegan de Melo on. Keegan de Melo's got a 50% chance to place and a 20% chance to win. So overall win place is on 70% already. So yeah, San Andreas definitely worth to be considered here in this market. And considering him for a top 4 is probably not a bad idea either. Well, if you look at this is quite interesting. Mezuzah has a 91% to run a top 4 at 14-1. So Mezuzah to sneak into the back end of quartets here. But back to San Andreas. San Andreas has got some 66% on top T curve to run in the top 4, and 67 also on bat C. So San Andreas worthwhile considering for a top 4 spot, we believe. Now let's get to the 4th race. And in the 4th race here, there's been quite a few scratchings, so let me just remove my selections here. Just to note, these are the editor's picks. So these editor's picks means what the editor likes. As the results unfold, there might be a few changes to what the editors picks before the race, that is. But also this ODR on day rules, keep that on at all times, because that evolves the ratings. If there's any trainers or jockeys or draws or specific things that the algorithms pick up, it'll allocate more points here on the T curve as the race goes by for those specific things that it picked up as the race carries on. So what do we have here in the fourth race? I see all the rage is for Angry Bird, and Angry Bird is a first timer. So that scratching that we've lost there, I'm gonna put Miss Paloma's scratching rated into the fourth spot here. And yeah, it's an interesting race here, considering that all of these has all first timers. So probably a race that you need to just load up in your bipod and your PAs, but in your pick six, all of these first timers, as long as you then get the first raced horse, that would still qualify. So for me, in your pick six, not that much of a need to load up. If I potentially just take Astute Vision here, Chanel Allure, To Do Run Run Run, To Do Run Run, and Angry Bird, as well as Hooper Nikau. These are the raced runners that I believe has a chance, and given that all of these are pretty close to each other on the bat form here, 3.7, 4.52, 6.4, 1.18, 1.65, and 7.0. These would be the ones that I would definitely be considering in my pick six. Remember, all the first timers will qualify in your pick six as long as you've got the first race runner in your race. So maybe those five is all that I need for my pick six. I could even leave Angry Bird out of it, purely because he's only mid-table on T-curve, and I'm hoping for one of my race runners then to either win or run second if Angry Bird wins race 5. Now, yeah, in race 5, we got another scratching through. So in race 5, I've only marked the 3 runners here in this race, and there's only been P stats of 2 here, but those 2 P stats both belonged to the best ORA 100% chance, and that goes to Lunification from the Whitehead stable. Now, we'd love to know in the first race how Reckless Love does, and as soon as we know how Reckless Love does, we could probably estimate the chances of Wendy Whitehead more in this race. That being said, Wendy Whitehead does look pretty good here. So does Gavin Van Zyl and Warren Kennedy as the favorite here. But Donald McDonald will probably be my first choice. And the reason being for that is I was spotting a double here for Gavin Van Zyl and Warren Kennedy. Based on this bat figure here, that is 4 lengths better than the rest. Gavin Van Zyl, Warren Kennedy, 3.65 with a big bat, only on his 7th run and coming back from a rest. So I went with Down to Earth as my first choice here for Gavin Van Zyl, backed up by this double attempt here for the first choice on Donald McDonald, both of them returning from a lengthy layoff. Donald McDonald is only 0.99 behind on bat, so that means for me, from the Kennedy Van Zyl connection, is probably going to be ready. My second choice would be Lunification from Randolph and Whitehead. I could change that to a joint first if I see the first race won by Whitehead. And then the third choice for me here is No Looking Back, Gareth Van Zyl and Tristan Godden. 22 to 1 on his second run only. He's got the best median speed. And being a Van Zyl runner as well, Gareth Van Zyl and Gavin Van Zyl both in this race, I would definitely want to include this one because it's his second run, so it doesn't include. No, it's actually his first run as well, because the barrier trial doesn't form part of his first run for pick six purposes. But keep in mind, then pick six, potentially just Donald McDonald and Lunification. But I do like a bit of a nibble on No Looking Back in this race as well. The other one to consider here is Red Rock Canyon. It is top T-curve. Vaughan Marshall and Anton Marcus. Now, the two of them is not bad together. A 40% win place here. Win place jockey is 63%. But Vaughan Marshall's only won in the last 42 runs. He hasn't run one yet, so I wouldn't make him any only be making my fourth choice. Also backed up here by Bat C, and Bat 168 is not good compared to the rest of the field. Hence Donald McDonald, Unification, No Looking Back, and then Red Rock Canyon. Of all the other runners here, maybe seventh song for Michael Roberts, because there is another Michael Roberts runner that looks pretty decent for me today, and I'll get to that soon. So back end of your exotics, potentially a decent one to include. If I look at Red Hot Night, that's the other Gareth Van Sale runner, Craig Zaki. It has had a stable change, and Gareth Van Sale has him and Low Looking Back here. So Craig Zaki on Red Hot Night will probably be looking at some improvement here. And now we get to the sixth race. We've already done 20 minutes, so I'm trying to get through in a half an hour today. Already spoke to Down to Earth here. Best Bat C, considering his 4 lengths ahead on Bat C here. So that's worthwhile on my first choice. Johan Janssen van Vieren is in extremely good form, so he teams up with Marcus, best ORA, best form, best stat form, best intent, super rule percentage, and T-curve, and Bat 168, so do most definitely have to include him as well. I'm going to let Perfect Air flow purely because that 15.24 is a bit too much to gain against Marcus running on the double here. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here on my third choice. Ariano's Shadow. Yorgos Governor's got 1 out of 3. The Jabu Jacobs 2.5 claim makes that into the reckoning, considering now he does have the second highest Bat 168 form here. If you just check on Bat 168 here, doesn't have bad Bat C form. And if I look at his last run, he did get some support there, he did get some support there, he did get some support there. So a few things to consider. It is a 1600 now, but he might just be up for it. And then Wendy Whitehead pops up again, and she has had some winners in the last week. The last run was a 6 on the bat. It was a red bat, which means that it wasn't distance suited. The 1600 form here was not as good with a 14.62 bat, but the 1400 meters form and Scottsville form was a 5.25, which does bring that very close to this Bat 168 form here. So based on that, Twice as Smart for me must have a say in the back end of your pick six and quartets. And then Connect Me. He's a runner that's been pretty decent in the past. Gary Rich has only got 2 for the day. As you can see here, when Serena Moodley was on board at 13-1, he almost won. He ran second there. I don't know why Serena Moodley's not available today, because he is running in a good for Michael Roberts later. But Gary Rich is not bad with Jason Gates' 30% win place strike rate. Connect Me might just be running on at the end here. And then Red L. Red L is also looking for some improvement. He's got a better bat seat. Potentially, I'd actually go and swap these two around, seeing that he's got a better bat C and a Gareth Van Sale with a Craig Zaki. Number 1, coming from a 1 draw, has got the consistency, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So that would be my next in this race. Of the rest of the runners, Liquid Irish has a decent bat C here, so potentially also, since Wendy Whitehead looks like she's going to have quite a decent day. Twice as Smart goes in there, so we have to put Liquid Irish in there as well. The first choices for me, Down to Earth at the bottom here is the first choice. Then on the double, Ariana's Shadow, Twice as Smart, Red L, Liquid Irish, and Connect Me. Race 7. Okay, so race 7 is a Pinnacle Stakes, and normally the Pinnacle Stakes, the bat curve and the bat runners are coming through here. Now we have a potential good thing as far as Adam Marcus and Anton Marcus teaming up here with Twist of Fate. But he's not the top T curve, and he's not the top T curve by a whole 10 points. That belongs to Gigi's Dynasty with Brett Crawford and Donovan Dillon, and they have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the top rated rankings here. So Twist of Fate is my first choice here. It is an only runner for Anton Marcus, and if I sort on my BATC figure here, you'll see that it's got a 2.79 ahead of Born to Perform with Dennis Bosch and Warren Kennedy. Now, I do like Warren Kennedy's chances to run here as well, because he's been consistent third and first being on board here, and down here he's finished first and first, winning both. So very much not for me, Twist of Fate banker. I would at the very least also include Born to Perform, and then Gigi's Dynasty, based on having the best on all these categories here. So those would be the three that I'm most interested in. Of the other runners, I must admit that Seattle Force does look like quite a decent lurker for me. There is a bit of nibble on the market. It's now at 16 to 1. But if I look at the BAT 84 form here, it is the top in the field, and the BAT 168, it is the top in the field as well. And given it is an only runner for Daryl Moore, you're going to have to say that it must have some sort of a chance here, and a decent jockey in the form of Stuart Randolph being booked. Randolph hasn't won for Moore, but he's got a 1 out of 3 or 33% place chance here. Daryl Moore's only one lost in 27 days, so not saying he's a strong winning selection, but saying he's a pick six inclusion for me. Smaller pick sixes, I'd be interested in Twist of Fate, Born to Perform, and Gigi's Dynasty. Back end of Quartets, Pack Leader, and Master Magic. Maybe Dr. Orange, because I remember Dr. Orange at some stage was not a bad runner. They had a few good things to say about him. Then race 8. Now in race 8 we come up with another scratching there. Blaze of Silk is now being scratched. And very interesting here for me is in race 8, the top two selections for me is at 9 to 1 and at 11 to 1. Now, Great Sharker being my first choice in this race. Reason being, it is a Jacobs 2.5 kilo appy claim. It's got the best overall ranking. It's got the best greenie points, and best form, 60% chance to win. Best 40% on all the bats here. And if I consider that it's got 7 lengths on bat 84 versus the second best Winter Blues and King's Meat, then Great Sharker must be a runner here. The other one that I definitely consider here is Gareth Van Sale and Donovan Dillon. Now, that means that other Gareth Van Sale, Donovan Dillon runner is probably the preference in that race. But Great Sharker and Yes Sir, I Can Boogie is my two best choices in this race. And if I look at the details here, the 1,000 meters it ran was 1,000 at the Vol, and the bat of a 7.76 and a bat before that of a 6.39 means it's got the best bat curve or consistency in the field of those, because of those two runs being so good. Great Sharker, though, does have the best single event in the field, and that was a 64 kilogram weight, where today he's carrying 58. It was also Jobo Jacobs. He's run twice on him. He's ran third and he's ran second, and he's got a very decent 58 to 28. Yes, it was over the gravel poly, and he doesn't do that well on the Scottsville side, so he's got a 9th year in Scottsville and a 6th year in Scottsville, which is a bit more concerning. But I'm willing to give him another chance for another grass performance, because he hasn't done too badly over at the Vol 1,000 meters. He ran a 57.68 adjusted time with the 61 kilos on his back, which is not bad. So Great Sharker is first choice for me. Yes Sir, I Can Boogie second choice for me, but they'll be joint first choices if Gareth Van Sale gets to win a race up till then. The next best for me is Candy Galore here with Warren Kennedy and Gareth Van Sale. That was a scratching now, so he moves into the 3rd position. King's Meat is my 4th choice, and Winter Blues is my 5th choice. So those would be the only runners that I'd consider on okay bat figures, other than the rest of the field doesn't have very great bat figures, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I see a 0 here, that's scratched. I see a 7 here, a 7 here, and a 9 here, and the rest is all 14s, 20s, and above. So that's it for me in that race. I move on to the 9th race. And in the 9th race, very interesting runner here for me is my top choice at 22 to 1, what I mentioned earlier, Michael Roberts and Serena Moodley. Now, the bat curve is ahead of 13 lengths to Sori, that now got scratched. Then Hampton Court also got scratched. So that makes it 15.37 lengths ahead of Sacred Journey. That is the second best bat in the field now after all these scratchings. Now, it's not the only thing I like about him. He's also the best greenie points on 10, which is like 3 ahead of the second best. Best overall ranking, best medium speed after the 2 scratchings. He's got the bum 42, bum 84. So he's the fit one, because not very many has run in the last 42 days, and he has. And if you look at that run that he's run on the 1st of June, it was a lot improved from the 1 and the 5. He went up to a 0, so that's pretty consistent there. Also like the fact that he's run one of them on the grass, that 5.23 was on the grass. So Ronnie's Rocket at 22 to 1 is, for me, worthy of a nibble. In fact, it's now at 36 to 1. So now it becomes definitely worthy of a nibble. And if I look at the P-Stats support there, 13 previous races on P-Stats, 23% there, 38.46 on greenie points, so almost a 4 out of 10 there on the greenie points. So 5 out of, what is that, 4 out of 13, 38% there. Changing that to a placed top 4, and you can get top 4 places at many places. You're looking at an 84.6% chance for Ronnie Rocket, and currently at 36 to 1. I would definitely make that worth a nibble as well. Others to consider here, Kingston Rock has got ERA 80 SR form, stat form, intent, and only 2 lengths behind on bat, 84 behind Ronnie's Rocket. Running freely, Greg and Corin Anthony, Warren Kennedy, also 1.74 on the bat now, and you can see it's an intent run because Warren Kennedy now gets booked, but hasn't had any support there, so I'd remain with Ronnie Rocket as my first choice. Jabu Jacobs did run second here for Brett Crawford, and he retains the ride, so Kingston Rock must be a contender on that. And then if I look at anything else here, the next best is only on 8 bats on Speed of Night. Now, Speed of Night does have very much improvement in him still, because he's only running his 5th race and he has been gelded. But like I said earlier, Vaughan Marshall has only had 42 runs without a win, so I'm not going to put my head out there that he'll be 100% ready and better. And he's only won his maiden now on the 4th of 10th of asking. He does get Keegan the Miller on board, and he does have okay 40% chance here, 11% chance to win. But Vaughan Marshall's 9% chance in his lifetime. I'm going to only get him my 4th selection. So Ronnie's Rocket, Running Freely, Kingston Rock, Speed of Night, Sacred Journey, the next best, and Monarchy are Michael Miller and Eric Ngwane, also being gelded here, also only on his 5th run. So he's also getting a change from tongue tie off back to Elamites, and you can see that course and distance run he did win there when he only had the Elamites on. So Monarchy would be the next best for me there. Then we look at the very last race, and we've already gone over the 30 minutes, so apologies for that. The very last race here, we have top rated here for me, well, first choice here for me, not top rated. Top T curve belongs to Transonic, Dennis Bost and Car Strydom, but Car Strydom's not bad. He's got 25% better than most top-rated jockeys in the world, 25% win chance, but he's only had the 4 runs so far. But be that as it may, he's only carrying 53 kilos, which gives him the best bat 84 and the best 168 on recent form. And he does have flame hot consistency. Dennis Bosch is not a bad trainer. And Dennis Bosch, he's had 15 runs since his last win, which is not great. So my first choice here is Corinne Bestel. Has had 7 runs, 75% win place strike rate with this jockey Magudalwa, and the best bat form and the best intent form, and 14-1. Yes, it's getting on the older side, as you can see here, but be that as it may, these runs here was Scottsville runs. Previously was pretty good, 4th and 3rd. His last run was not as good on the 10th, but he's now had a lot of time to rest and get his old bones back to form again. And he could just be in it here. If I look at Magudalwa, has already won on him when it was 45-1. So that must give you some shape of idea to say, yeah, you can't leave him out of your exotics, because at any price that he can win for this stable. He's also been 3rd in there, 2 runs back, and these runs here was not bad either, considering 57 adjusted times. So I would give number 8 my first choice here on the consistency of Bat C, followed by Transonic with a straight arm with a 75% place chance. Then just a guy thing for me is not far off. 4 lengths on Bat 84 for a Gavin Van Zyl and a Warren Kennedy is definitely needs to be considered, especially that run was not from Warren Kennedy, but it was on the Gravel Poly. So over the 1200 Scottsville, he's also got a 2.89 bat form, pretty good. So don't leave just a guy thing out of this as well. And then the next for me is Gregan Corrin, Anthony and Stuart Randolph. Has been gelded, has won over the 1200 on the grass here, and 6.72 on the bat figure is not bad. Bat C is 3rd best in the field on 6.36, so it has to be included here as well. And then yes, Janse van Vuuren has shown enough since the lockdown is finished to make him a definite runner here on Retail Therapy as well. So this is probably a bit of an open race. He's got that 1200 vol form as well to go by, 6.43. He's got the 1200 Gravel Poly that he won on, but he's not bad on the 1.43 lengths behind on the vol form. He does get a 4 kilogram epic claim here to boot on that, and he's got a seriously strong 85% win and place ratio here with the Janse van Vuuren. So Retail Therapy most definitely has to go in here in this race as well. I make this quite an open affair between these 5 runners that I've now spoken to about. The last one that I'd like to add here is purely from a probability perspective, 23.08% chance to win on intent, and that intent belongs here to number 8, 14-1. On top of that, statistical form, 14.26 being the best in the field, and that statistical form covers a 30% chance to win out of the last 13 runners. So that's what's that, 4 out of 13, and that to me is enough to include him at a 36-1 price, to say that you can't leave him out. He's not in any exotics or anything, but you can't leave him out to maybe surprise here at the end. So I see that just a guy thing is getting support in the market. I see that number 8 is steady on 14-1, and I see Transonic has dropped in the market down to 11-1. Transonic for me definitely a place prospect here based on those strong jockey trainer forms, and he's got flame hot consistency. So yeah, I'll stick to my top 3 selections as is. I'll add Great to be captain as the 4th choice, Retail Therapy as my 5th choice, but it is steady in the market at 14-1, and then Stormy Miss as my last choice there. Those 6, box them in a quartet or in a trifecta, and you probably be looking at getting quite close to getting your trifecta or quartet. It's going to be an open race. Any of those can win it. And if you get the two worst off in the bettings to run first and second, your quartet's going to be paying quite nicely. Hey guys, I kept it under 40 minutes. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel to be informed of any more videos to follow, and hope to see you there soon.